Welcome to Get Real with Brian Stuckey, an all-new program to get you real information about how real estate affects you, your family, and your community. Brought to you in part by Bankers Network Corporation. And now, Brian Stuckey.
Good evening. Welcome to Get Real. I'm Brian Stuckey. I've got a fantastic program for you tonight. First of all, on Property Pages, I have Joy Bender. She's with Sereno Group. She's a real estate agent. She's going to be talking about what's going on in the real estate market here in the Santa Clara Valley. Next, I have David Roberson. He's an attorney, and he's with Pro Baseball for San Jose. Do we want the A's to come to San Jose or not? We're going to find out if that's a good idea or not. Next, I have in the weekly Spotlight segment, I have Collette Cassidy and Kim Williams. They're with Friends of Panoche Valley. There's an area out in Panoche Valley, about 4,700 acres, where they want to put solar panels out there, and they're with a group that would prefer not to have that out there by all means. And then in the lifestyle segment, I have Marty Sharpe. He's a fitness consultant. It is the time of the New Year's resolution, and Marty's going to talk about if you've broken it already, is it too late? We're going to find out. But first, in the Property Page segment, I have Joy Bender. My guest is Joy Bender. She's a real estate agent with Sereno Group. Sereno Group. Do I say that wrong?
It's not the pepper.
It's okay. And it's been a interesting last year. A lot of people just assume that we get through last year. Now it's 2010. There's a lot of excitement and everything else. It's been a while. It's been about a month and a half since I got to update what's going on in the market. What is going on?
Well, we're noticing a lot of buyer activity now. Buyers who have been sitting and waiting to see what's going to happen if prices are going to continue to go down. Now they seem to be really coming out. The open houses are becoming really full, and I think buyers are feeling like it's time to move and make that investment. The reports I've read, it seems like we could probably expect about a 4% value increase this year. Mm-hmm. If everything continues going the way it is. And compared to last year, last January, the median price has actually come up from $417 to $515 in Santa Clara County.
Okay.
So things are looking really good.
Well, that's encouraging too, because I'm sure sellers didn't really want to sell. Those who had, some had to sell. Short sales, we're going to talk about that in a moment. But it's like that's probably a good sign too if you want to sell. Then at least you're going to get some greater value there.
Right. I think especially right now, inventory is low. Okay. So compared to, again, last year in January, we had about 10,000 homes on the market, and right now we have about 5,000. So buyers have a little less to choose from, mm-hmm. and sellers have less competition. So it is a really good time. In fact, we're encouraging people to put their house on the market a little earlier than you normally would. We usually shoot for around March, late February, but might be with the inventory so low, better to go a little bit earlier.
Okay, so as long as we're talking about sellers and what you'd recommend, aside from putting it on early, what are some other things?
Really consider the price. A lot of sellers don't really give it. Once we think the market's turning around, people tend to start setting the price high. And it's always really important to get right in that ballpark range of what you think you're going to get. And almost sometimes better to go a little bit lower so that you'll draw in more interest and you draw in more people. So you have more buyers that are seeing your property, and then you have a better chance of selling it within a faster time frame.
Okay. It's always interesting how you want to go ahead and market it. Sometimes you put it so low that there's people jumping all over each other in order to get come with the highest offer. Yeah,
you have to be really careful. There's a lot of variables, and each property is different. Sometimes if you set it too low, buyers right now are still coming in and offering a really low price. So you mm-hmm. have to be really careful. You have to consider the area and the price itself, the house, everything about the house.
Okay. Now, there's still incentives for buyers to go out there and buy. Besides low interest rates, I know that that's an incentive in itself, but the government's gone ahead and they extended an incentive. Is that correct?
They have. They've extended through the end of April the tax credit for home buyers. So there's two. There's first-time home buyers. That's an $8,000 tax credit. And then there's one for current homeowners. There's certain stipulations. You have to at least have been living in the property for 3 years, but that's a $6,500 tax credit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we've only got a couple minutes here, so
Yeah.
I want to get these other two in. Their short sales pretty hot before. So briefly explain what a short sale is, and are those still, something that people should pursue?
All right, a short sale is when a seller owns the property, but they owe more on the loan than what they could realistically sell it for, because property prices have gone down.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hoping to sell it and hoping that the bank will agree to write off the balance that they owe them. So that's a short sale. The number of those are rising because the values have come down. And also there's different reasons. People are in a financial stressful situation. They can't afford the payments anymore, job loss or whatever. So those distressed properties are rising in numbers.
And the thing too is that these usually are really drawn out transactions. Is that still the case?
Well, there's some new regulations to that. You would put in an offer on a short sale, and you could wait up to 3 months to hear back from the lender whether they will accept that or not. Now they have to respond within 10 days. And also listing agents need to submit the offer within 3 days of receipt.
Okay, so it has shortened up a little bit.
It should. Now it's not so much of a long sale. Hopefully it'll be a short sale.
Well, I'm sure people would say, why do we even call it a short sale?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We're going to bring you back because I want to talk to you about some other things down the road here. So Joy Bender has been my guest. She's with Sereno Group. And that's if you have any questions for Joy or any of my guests, get a hold of me at 408-269-8366 or brian@4bestloan.com, and I'll make sure I direct you in the right place. Next, we'll be coming back in our By the Number segment. I'll have Dave Roberson. We're going to be talking about the A's moving to San Jose. We'll be right back. My guest is David Roberson. He's an attorney here, and he's also an advocate for the San Jose. For San Jose to have a pro team. In fact, the name of the group, what is it?
Pro Baseball for San Jose.
Pro Baseball for San Jose. Yes, and it's Dave. I remember doing this in my show in the 1990s. I first started in 1990, and I think shortly after that, they were a movement trying to get the San Francisco Giants to move to San Jose, and it failed.
That's correct. Actually, there was 2 separate elections in the 90s, both of which failed. The Giants were trying to move to Santa Clara County, and both of those elections were unsuccessful. Primarily, we believe, because the Giants were actually seeking public money to help finance the construction of the stadiums, purchase of the land, and the voters at that time didn't think that was such a hot idea. That's contrasted with today's situation where in the event that Major League Baseball agrees to allow the Oakland A's to move to Santa Clara County and to move to the city of San Jose, the owners of the Oakland A's have publicly demonstrated that they will purchase the land or lease the land on their own and also construct the stadium with private money, and they're not going to be looking for any money from the citizens this time around.
Well, I need to kind of grasp what sometimes you think you put the cart before the horse when you're thinking about Major League Baseball has kind of stayed out of the fray right now, but there's all indications that the Giants, when the Giants came to town, that they had certain rights for the area of the Santa Clara Valley, I guess. So how is that overcome? And if it's not overcome, is all this for nothing?
That's true. After the first election failed, Bob Lurie, the then owner of the San Francisco Giants, asked Major League Baseball to protect Santa Clara County to prevent another existing team from moving here while they were trying to relocate. And Major League Baseball granted those rights, and the then Oakland A's owners didn't object to that because they were assuming that they would get Oakland and San Francisco County and all the northern fans. When the Giants were sold to the current owners and they relocated, actually built a stadium in San Francisco, the entire reason for those territory rights virtually disappeared. And now that the A's would like to relocate and enjoy the benefits of Santa Clara County and the corporate structures down here, the Giants are saying, no, you can't do that because those territory rights belong to us. And I think that's where we're at right now. Right now, we've been waiting patiently for Major League Baseball to make a decision on those rights. We're cautiously optimistic that they're going to come down on the favor of San Jose and in favor of the A's moving down here. And we're assuming that we're going to hear something in the next couple of months, primarily because a vote to the city of San Jose's citizens would have to be prepared, and a ballot measure would have to be approved by the City Council, and the ballot measure language would have to be drafted and approved prior to the November ballot. And again, we're cautiously optimistic that those stars are going to align, and that the voters of San Jose will get an opportunity to make that decision.
Okay. Why do you think it's so important that San Jose have a professional team? I think the success of the Sharks, a lot of people say, well, look at what it's done for for our local economy and everything else. There's other people who say, well, there's traffic problems and everything else. Looking at both sides of it, why is it important, and what are the arguments against having a team in San Jose?
First and foremost, let me address the Sharks. I mean, the Sharks, when the arena where the Sharks play was first proposed, there was a significant amount of opposition, and the arena actually barely passed by the slimmest of margins. And a lot of the opponents of the arena at that time today are advocates of a baseball stadium in downtown San Jose, primarily because of the huge economic benefits of facilities like that, and how they bring, it's kind of a rising tide for the entire community, not just the city of San Jose, but the entire county of Santa Clara and all the surrounding cities all benefit from that kind of economic development. If you're in downtown San Jose on the night of a Sharks game, a couple hours before the game, the restaurants are buzzing, there's people walking all over the place, there's people spending money everywhere, and even after the game for a couple hours, it's a huge economic boom for 41 nights where the Sharks play. A baseball stadium literally right across the street from the Sharks arena will have an 81 date schedule, so it'll virtually triple the number of dates in downtown San Jose, where the restaurants, the businesses are benefiting from outside people outside of San Jose and outside Santa Clara County, bringing their money to downtown San Jose and enjoying downtown San Jose.
Okay, what are the detriments though to the that you see?
Sure, absolutely. There's going to be traffic issues that are being dealt with right now. The City of San Jose City Council is actually meeting with the neighborhoods on a regular basis. One other thing I wanted to bring up was last election cycle, high-speed rail and BART were both approved to downtown San Jose. High-speed rail that goes all the way down to LA, all the way through to Sacramento, is going to be going right downtown San Jose, right next to where the Sharks play, right next to where the A's will be. Same thing with BART. BART got approved, and BART will be someday, hopefully before the end of this decade, bringing passengers from the East Bay and from San Francisco down to this location also. Those are a couple of things that are going to help mitigate traffic, but also help bring additional people to downtown San Jose and help the economic development of the city and this county.
Okay, so there is a big picture thing with the rails going and everything else.
Absolutely.
What about our beloved San Jose Giants? So what happens with them?
Sure, a couple things could happen. They don't have to move. I mean, I think that it's very clear that there's no reason that they couldn't stay and coexist with the A's. However, if they do decide to move, I think that there's an argument that can be made, and I think Major League Baseball would agree that the relocation costs would have to be borne by the team that's moving in. There's currently a rule in the Major League Constitution that says that a minor league franchise can't exist within 75 miles of a major league. However, there are exceptions to that rule. Both the Yankees and the Mets both have minor league teams in New York City proper. There are exceptions that are made to the rule. So the Giants could coexist here. It's going to be up to them.
Give me a date. When's this going to come to a head?
We believe that there will be a ballot measure in November of 2010 for the citizens of San Jose. We're cautiously optimistic that hopefully within the next 1 to 2 months, Major League Baseball will make an announcement saying that the A's have an opportunity to at least try and get to San Jose.
Great. My guest has been David Roberson. He's an attorney and he's also leading the cause with Pro Baseball for San Jose. If you have any questions for Dave or any of my guests, please get a hold of me at brian@forbestloan.com or 408-269-8366. Coming up next, I have a spotlight segment. You'll like it. We'll be right back. My guests are Collette Cassidy and Kim Williams. Collette is the owner of Claravale Dairy
Farm.
Dairy Farm. And then Kim is with Your Family Farm, and both of them and a large group of people are part of the Friends of Panoche Valley, and we're going to talk about that now. The interesting, what's going on in Panoche Valley. First of all, where is Panoche Valley? A lot of people in the Santa Clara Valley not familiar exactly where it's at.
Panoche Valley is about an hour southeast of Hollister, which
Okay.
is south of Gilroy.
Okay. And why don't you describe, well, instead of doing that, in fact, I've got Don Douglas, who's with Douglas Ranch. We're going to show you a clip right now. It's about a minute clip, and you can see a little bit what it's like out in Panoche Valley. Then I'm going to come back with both Kim and Collette. Gopher, go ahead. You can see.
I came from the North Country. I was born in Minnesota, and I ranched in Montana. I just was always good with horses. I don't know why. I started getting some horses on my own, and I had a neighbor who was very good. This man could slide and spin his horse, and we didn't know really how to do that up in Montana. And he said, well, I learned that from a guy down in San Juan Bautista. Walter Wright was his name. And a couple years later, I came down and I started working for Walter. Being that I'm from a bigger country, you know, Montana, where I'd take a colt and just go out and ride it. And that's what I needed down here. Our little places in town, I just didn't have the room to.
So that was an abbreviated clip of Don Douglas. He's got his own ranch, Douglas Ranch. And you've got Clara Vale Farms, and your family farm, Kim, you've got. So you're out there in the valley, and what's threatening it is this group called SolarGen wants to come in there, and they want to put solar panels out there. What's that mean to you, Kim, you know, in your business and the whole area, with all your neighbors?
Well, it's just not solar panels. We use solar panels on our farm, and that's not so much of an issue. This is a large-scale industrial solar project that's going to take up almost 5,000 acres on land that's zoned for agriculture.
And how does it personally affect you and your business?
Well, we're downwind of the site, and what they're proposing to do will basically take the top vegetation off the soil. And so 5,000 acres of exposed topsoil, there's going to be erosion and an incredible amount of dust. So that's one way that it'll affect us. And another is that this land will just be permanently taken out of agricultural production, which we can't afford with 2 acres of farmland being lost every minute in the United States.
Now, same thing with you. You concur with that? So.
Yeah, I would say we're opposed to it because the Panoche Valley is one of the most spectacularly beautiful, pristine, agricultural productive areas in the state of California. It's one of the last. And we think that it's worth preserving. It's the most important issue for us as farmers is that while everybody's talking about being green and saving energy and doing solar projects, what's happening is we're losing agricultural land and we're losing the small family farmer.
Okay. Now, with the renewable, you know, the California wants to go from 20 to 33% on renewable energy and everything. Do you think they're going to meet this by being in Panoche Valley?
No, I don't think they're going to meet it by being in Panoche Valley. It's an unrealistic goal. The reason why European countries have become leaders in renewable energy and solar in particular is because they're employing smart grid technology. We're starting to do that in the U.S. in cities like Denver and Austin, Texas, but we're not doing it here. And until we do that, renewable energy is not going to be an efficient source of energy.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not opposed to solar. We're not opposed to environmental alternative energy. It's just that we think there are more responsible and efficient ways to do it, more where the end user is. So in the city, on residential rooftops, on business rooftops, but not, as they've described, this will be the largest project in the world.
Well, there's a lot of wanting to have the largest project in the world and brag about it, but and a lot of people have described, is it fair that it's a lot like Nevada in that area where it's a broad wasteland? Is that a fair statement to make?
Sure, there's parts of the year where it looks like a dry and barren landscape, and then there's parts of the year where it looks like Ireland. So if you're not familiar with the area and you don't do your homework, then you're not going to be aware of the value of that land and what's going on there.
Okay. But it does seem like an ideal place because they do say that it has 90% solarity out there, which means that there's a lot of sun.
Well, you know, by the time they roll this project out, it's going to be a dinosaur. It's going to be obsolete already. It's kind of, I like to think about it like computers. When we first had computers, they took up the size of a room or a small building. You know, now you carry a computer in your hand, in your BlackBerry or your Apple. And I think the same thing's going to happen with this project. And then what are we left with? We won't be able to recover the land. It'll be impossible. It'll be gone forever. We'll have a toxic dump of solar panels that they don't know what to do with. And that's it.
And last thing, can it coexist with there's always, of course, there's environmental issues, but also endangered. Is it possible that it could coexist with endangered species?
I don't think so, since they want to surround the entire project with chain link fence. The funny thing is that the farming that we're involved with, you don't have to mitigate land for endangered species. It is compatible. But with this kind of thing, you do have to have mitigated land. So it's pretty obvious that it's not conducive with the species or agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the real endangered species is the American farmer. And you've got rainforest being slashed in South America to grow cattle, to ship back to San Jose and Hollister, when just an hour away you're getting rid of grazing land. It doesn't make any sense. You're growing produce in Chile to ship here at an enormous cost, financial and energy-wise, and then you're creating public policy that destroys the local farmer.
Yep. Collette Cassidy and Kim Williams have been my guests. They're with SavePanocheValley.com, by the way, but they're friends of Panoche Valley. And if you'd like any information, again, SavePanocheValley.com. You can get a hold of me, 408-269-8366, or Brian at 4bestloan.com. I want to thank Collette Cassidy and Kim Williams for being my guests. Next, we've got Lifestyle segment and Marty Sharpe. In the Lifestyle segment, Marty Sharpe's my guest. He's a fitness guru, consultant. You don't mind if I tell you, he's 53 years old, and he looks like he just came off the beach as a 21-year-old playing Frisbee. But it's like, Marty, New Year's resolutions, people start these every year. I did. I'm starting mine a little bit late until after I talked to you on this show. People have seen you on my program before and said, boy, he keeps bringing this guy up, but I guess I like to embarrass myself because it hasn't quite kicked in yet. But it's so is it too late for people that have New Year's resolution, to go ahead and
Well, I've never been a huge proponent of a New Year's resolution for getting healthy. Health, dude, is all about longevity for life, and it should be goals that should be set. And if you don't reach that goal, then just set another goal. But the resolutions, average about 2 weeks. And then everybody's done. They go right back to their standard habits of eating processed food, and the gym was a great idea, even a free membership, but after that, finito, they're done. So set some goals. Really state where you want to be in maybe 6 months, but make them realistic. This is ridiculous how people want to lose so much weight so fast, and then when they don't accomplish it, you get disappointed, you're done, you're frustrated, and then you go right back to your own habits again.
Okay, when you mentioned habits a couple times there, so what are some good habits? Because one thing, I used to sell health club memberships, and there's a cycle of bad health and there's a cycle of good health going on.
Right.
And one is that if you're eating, because I'm eating, I'm not going to go work out today, and I'll sit and, and I won't play volleyball because I'm not in shape to do it, and you go through this little circular rotation of bad habits. Whereas if you eat right, you do all these other things. But what are some habits, good habits, that people just flat out need to make a,
Yeah, number one, you've got to get off of processed food. Preservatives, processed food, and a lot of people just don't know some of the things that they're putting in their body until they really start looking at the ingredients. I went over to Safeway the other day. I haven't been in there in about 2 years because I shop at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. And it is amazing. I just watch people shop. And you know who shops are the kids. Mommy, get me this, get me this, get me this. And they're pulling it in. And it's sugar, sugar, and sugar. That's number one killer right there. Then you're looking at aspartame and sucralose and high fructose corn syrup and all of these chemicals and preservatives. And until you really sit there, when you're looking at a product and it's got 139 to 150 ingredients and there's words on there you cannot pronounce, you got to get out. That thing cannot go in your body. It just can't. Organic is really a way to go. And that's Yes, here with the farmers and the eggs and the milk. I mean, organic, fertile soil. It's very, very important. So one of the habits I would get into is understand what you're putting in your body by reading the ingredients on everything you buy. And go organic as much as you can. I know it's more money, but in the long run, my gosh, the cost savings from medical visits to the doctor, okay, basically just overall health and the well-being. I mean, that's a huge benefit themselves. So, 30 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents more for an item, it's well worth it.
Okay, let's say somebody's watching the program right now and they're just going like, this sounds all great, but it's going to be hard work because they're very obese. Where do they start?
Right.
They can go to a gym, they can do this, but what's step one?
Yeah, step one is I wish they would call me. I really do. I really do. It's something I love doing is helping people get healthy. I mean, look, I brought this here. This is 5 pounds of visceral body fat, okay? And this here is 5 pounds of muscle. This comes off and this goes on, okay? It's not hard to do. Losing weight is really not that hard. It's keeping it off. That is the difficult part. I have a solution with the supplement line that I have, and it does work. But you see, like anything, it's a habit, and you have to create this habit. And it normally takes 21 days to go ahead and do something consistently in a row, and then you catch on really quick. So if there's a way for somebody to contact me to go ahead and let me talk to them and find out what they're trying to achieve, I'm all for it.
Well, that's what we're going to do. I mean, it's if you have any questions for any of my guests, Marty and any of my guests, please get a hold of me at 408-269-8366 or Brian at 4bestloan.com. I want to thank all my guests for coming on the program. I've got some final thoughts coming up right now. My final thoughts here is it's an exciting year, 2010. A lot of us just couldn't wait to get 2009 out of the way. It's out of the way. I want to thank my guests for coming on the program. There's a lot of different issues and things that are going to be exciting in 2010, including real estate. Joy Bender, if you have any questions for her, get a hold of me. Joy's with Sereno Group. I want to thank her. Also, David Roberson, Pro Baseball for San Jose. I want to thank him for being my guest. Also, Collette Cassidy and Kim Williams with Friends of Panoche Valley. And Marty Sharpe, you can't have a great New Year's resolution. It doesn't need to start January 1st. It can start right now. If you have any questions to any of my guests, please get a hold of me at Brian at 4bestloan.com or 408-269-8366. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Get Real. Good night.